Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for the Americana Classic Tournament. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. Before I take my first shot, if you do want to get the text guide for the Americana Classic, or maybe you want to improve Tour 9, Tour 8, Tour 7 or whatever, you can find them at patreon.com/golfclashtommy. So we're going to start with hole number 1 in this tournament, and we're going to play a full 9 of the Juniper Point. And you will see some old recordings, you will see some new recordings that was needed to be done to be able to provide a guide before the tournament. And the new ones you will see will have a different visual, and that will all the holes have once you play the tournament. But we go with hole number 1, and hole number 1 here is a little bit like a two-way street in my opinion. If we do have a tailwind, or we do have the club and the ball, then we play over to the left. Like let's say we have an extra mile level 8 and we do have a power 3 ball, then we can go over the water without having to overpower. If we do have an extra mile 5 and we play with a power 3 ball, might have to go with a little bit of overpower, but then the curl will be a little bit of a problem. If we don't want to go over and we don't feel comfortable with it, or we might just don't have the equipment for it, then we play up to the right like I'm doing here. No matter what way you're playing, you're going to over adjust 10% with your drive due to the slight downhill approach. So we lay up there, and now we do have an open shot towards the pin, and this is where it's going to be a little bit tricky because the green here isn't really easy to read, and that's going to be a problem. And here you can see as well the problem with if you make a bad drive going into the bunker. You can see that our opponent has no chance whatsoever, and sure, he's having the beginner sandwich, but even if you do have a Malibu or any other sandwich, it will be tough to reach over the water, especially with some headwind. Now we use the backspin on our club, trying to find a way for the ball to fall down towards the pin, giving us an eagle. But I would say that if we're not going over the water and taking that risk, this is going to be like a 99% birdie hole in my opinion. But if you take the chance going over, then you definitely have a possibility making an eagle in a very good way. It's just that, do you want to take that risk or not? That's up to you to decide. I wanted to explain both ways, and the good and the bad ways with both. So we take the shot using the backspin here and let the ball fall down towards the pin. And now you can see we're going to miss this shot a little bit to the right, but nonetheless it's going to be a very easy birdie. Hole number 2, and here you can see that the visual changes drastically, and this is, you know, much better view, and I really like what I'm seeing. And you can see as well that this green has been slightly changed a little bit, combined with that the front bunker has been moved a little bit more to the right to make it a little bit trickier, as it was more open before, and the green for the shot were very easy. It was basically a funnel towards the hole from the right side all the time. Now we are still going to use the right side because there are still, as you can see here, there's still a slope coming in from right to left, and that's the one that we are going to use. So we are going to put our target, which is our long iron, we're going to put that on the right side of the bunker using 3 bars of backspin. And have in mind here that you don't have to play with a Goliath, you can play with whatever long iron you might want. And we're using a Marlin ball as well, as I do feel that we do need a little bit of side spin, but we're definitely not in the need of power. So we bounce in, and you can see we're using the right side, we fall down, and we're getting it very nice for a birdie. Hole number 3, this is the first par 5, also a hole that has been featured very a lot of times. And here it's very important to have in mind that all the trees are in play. So if you do get stuck behind the trees on the right, or get stuck behind the trees on the top left, then you cannot shoot through it, then you need to shoot around it. So have that in mind when you're playing. The drive here, 10% downhill, so we need to add the 10%, and the easiest way to do is to add that to the wind. I'm using a power 1 ball here with a slight amount of overpower because I do want to go directly over the rough and the sand, and use 3 to 4 bars of topspin combined with as much side spin to the right possible to land ourselves up here on the fairway, and then we approach the pin. There will be players playing to bounce before the bunker to roll as far as possible. I'm not saying that's wrong, it's just that if we are going to want to play with a long iron, let's say like that, then we need to make the shot that I'm doing. Otherwise we're going to be playing with a wood club, and that's going to be a little bit trickier in my opinion. Also, to make the drive even more easier, you could definitely go and play with a power 2 ball or a power 3 ball. You can see that I use power 1 ball, our opponent is using a power 0 ball, but power 1 ball is kind of the minimum in my opinion when we do have like a slight headwind or with a crosswind. With a tailwind, doesn't really matter what ball we're playing with, we're still going to be able to reach. Second shot now, we need to over adjust 5%, not much, but it's necessary. But now you can see the problem we have with the trees. And we do need to curl around it. That's so important, and we're going to use the backspin and we're going to use the side spin to get our ball being kicked into the left. We also need to use curl. And now when we're using curl, it's always tough to know how much we do need to use. So if we get stuck there behind the tree in some form and we cannot shoot straight at the pin, and then it's going to be a slight little problem for us, and we will have to settle for an eagle, or at least trying to curl our shot up towards the pin, which is going to minimize the opportunity of getting an albatross. Hole number 4, here we're going to over adjust 10%. We're playing downhill and we're going to use the fairway pad that we do have there to the right. Reason being is that the part that we're going to see when our opponent is going to play, the part to the left is so bumpy that it's no way for you to be able to find any consistency on that fairway. So I'm going to use the fairway on the right, using that pad, bounce myself up towards the pin. Here I'm using 2.5 bar side spin. I'm also using a couple of bars of backspin combined with slight curl to the left. The reason I'm using curl here is because the lower level side spin that we do have on our ball. If we do play with a power 1 ball, which in my opinion would be suggested, as for, you know, the side spin like a quasar would be perfect here, then we don't have to play with curl. One thing to have in mind here though is that that fairway pad is sloping right to left, which means that the ball is going to get a natural push to the left. So even though you're aiming straight at the pin and you have a wind right to left, then combined with the push from the fairway pad, the wind and the side spin is going to push you a lot to the left. So then you need to aim a little bit to the right of the pin, or you will have to reduce the side spin that you're using so you can use the slope in a perfect way. Here you can see the problem with that our opponent is getting from bouncing there on the fairway, because it's very bumpy and he bounced way to the left, even though with a lot of curl to the right. Hole number 5, the second par 5 that we do have in this tournament, and here we are going to use the extra mile and we're going to use a big dog. And the thing is here is that we do need distance. Our opponent playing with a kingmaker, I'm not saying no to a kingmaker, but would be spending a titan instead. Kingmakers are super valuable, and I think Titan is a perfect ball to use when we do need distance playing in rookie division, as that is what we can win a decent amount of if we're doing well. So bouncing over there for our opponent, which is a nice shot, and then that will definitely bring a decent opportunity. Now you can see I'm having the big topper picked, and I'm using I'm pulling out a berserker ball to kind of show that we will be getting the distance with the big topper, with the berserker ball combined with the topspin to bounce over and gain a lot of distance. But I also understand that the majority of players playing in rookie ain't going to have a big topper, they are not going to have a berserker ball, or maybe they just have one of the other. And then I think it's too tough to try to play with a big topper with a titan having to overpower. So therefore I'm going to use the extra mile to bounce before the rough and gain as much distance after the rough possible. The drive is going to be downhill a lot, 20%, super important, as for we do want the ball to, you know, to roll as far as possible, and we don't want the ball to fly directly into the rough, as we are not adjusting for elevation. So 20% extra for your drive, then you're gonna be there. You could see that there was a way to get over to the left side, but lower level clubs with a lower level accuracy, then I think that's just going to cause more trouble than it's going to help. So in my opinion, right side is the way to play. If you're not feeling very comfortable playing over, then you might, depending on the wind, can find a better spot up there to the left. But once again, I'm going to suggest the right side as a general route. Now, as you can see, I'm having a power 3 ball, no problem. Even if I did cut her off, no problem to reach with my big dog. The problem here, though, I would say, is that we can also actually play with a Viper. We don't have to play with the big dog here. We can play with the Viper and have no problems to reach for the green. We do want to use as much side spin to the right possible. As for putting ourselves away from the rough line there to the right, and like great proof it, as I would like to call it, or risk minimize it. So if you do hit a great right, then you don't want to bounce directly into the rough, as you do want to hit the edge of the fairway and still be okay. Hole number 6. Now we do play, I love the view on this hole, I must say, and I'm going to play with a quarterback and I'm playing with a power 0 ball. Here, as always, more power, the easier the drive is going to be, as you're going to be able to get more distance there. Here we do want to bounce in between the trees there that we have there on the left and there in the center, to put ourselves up for either a wedge shot or a short iron shot towards the pin. The drive is going to be played over adjusted, which is 10% that I want you to add. Add that to the wind. It's easier to calculate like that. So you add 10% to the wind, then you subtract, then you divide that with the ring number that you do have for your club. We get up there, and now we do have an open shot towards the pin. For those of you that has been playing this hole before, know that the green didn't look like that before. It was a very long green, it was an uphill green, and I know myself included has been frustrated about the fact that once getting to the green, you can't putt. You're just gonna stay there because you need to putt out from the green to be able to reach. Now the green is normal, and it's still uphill that we're going to play, but it's still going to be manageable to putt, even though you are very short on the green. So that's not going to be an issue anymore, which is super nice. And now we adjust directly towards the pin here, and we're going to play this shot uphill. Uphill 10%. That means that you're going to have to subtract that from the wind, and then you divide it with your ring numbers. Last but not least, we do have the last par 3 here in the tournament, and here I'm going to use 1.5 bar topspin, and I'm changing it to 2 as we do have some slight headwind. I would say when you do have headwind, 2.5 bar topspin is going to be fine. Crosswind 2 and tailwind 1 to 1.5. I'm using the beginning there of the fairway to take ourselves away from the rough bump. I think the rough bump is perfect, but more for pro and expert division, as we do have a higher level clubs and we can see the ball guideline, because we don't want the ball to go short, we don't want the ball to go long, and that's super hard to see while playing with a wood club, either in any form of rough bump to left or right. We're getting it up there, but you can see we went a little bit short, we went a little bit too much to the left, so we need to tweak that. But you can also see, look at my opponent's ball guideline, so it's basically stuck. Like, even if he comes to the right even more, the ball guideline is still going to be the same, which is a very nice thing to have in mind, as that is definitely something that could be dialed in once playing in the tournament. 10% downhill if you're playing on the fairway there where I am. If you're playing according to the rough, not according to rough, as for the rough bump, then you're going to play it 0. You're not going to add or subtract anything. Hole number 8, the final par 4, and here I'm going to use a power 3 ball, because here I'm going for green. Max topspin, as much side spin to the right possible. As for the first fairway, slopes to the left, and it's going to give us a natural push to the left as well. So I'm going to stretch out and I'm going to try to visualize seeing the first bounce, of course, on the fairway, second bounce as close to the rough line on top as possible, and then the third bounce we want to be in the rough over the sand. So with an XMI level 5, it definitely doesn't really give us any distance, it doesn't really give us that much topspin, so we'll have to take it for what it is. The thing is though, is that I think this way to play and get into the rough or into the sand close to the green is better than lay up on the right and approach a pin with a short iron or a long iron. The thing that I think of in that way is that I feel that when we're so close, we are only a perfect shot from an eagle. But even if we hit a perfect shot with a short iron or a long iron from distance, it's not sure at all or secure at all that we're going to get that eagle approaching the pin. So therefore, it's one of the few times I should suggest to take the aggressive route on this course, even though with the fact that you know that you will most likely end up in the rough or in the sand. In the best case scenario, the last bounce that gets into the rough is going to roll out on the fairway or onto the green, and then you're going to be, of course, cheering, because that's going to be perfect for you. Once getting into the rough here, I feel that if you do not have the ball guideline, try to dunk. Don't try like I do, because I miss, but try to dunk. It doesn't hurt you, and you could, with a minor grade, still get the ball in the hole. Last but not least, now I can say that and mean it, is hole number 9. And hole number 9 is a course that we haven't played in a tournament for a very long time. I think when I looked at it, it was early 2018, spring something, I think, that we played this hole in the tournament, which is more than a year ago. So the thing that we're going to have to do here is that we will have to, see this course again. And I like to see courses that we haven't had for a very long time in a tournament. And we're going to look at this one in two ways. If you do have a headwind or like a headwind crosswind, I would say the general way would be to lay up and do as our opponent is doing. But with one difference, is that to play with a power 3 ball. It's super important that if you lay up, and if we have that bad wind, that means that we have that bad wind for the second shot as well. And then we need to get distance for the second shot. And therefore, we cannot play with a power 1 ball. We need that power 3 ball. If you do want to play aggressively instead, you can see I'm having an XMI level 7. It's a little bit too high, in my opinion, for rookie. But it still makes it worth showing. So we do have a power 1 ball here, and I'm playing with a power 1 ball here as for I would with an XMI level 2, level 3 be playing with a power 3. It's basically the same type of thing. And you can see here that I will have to use almost max overpower, and then I'm going with half a ball of curl outside the adjustment ring to the left. Max side spin, 1 bar of top spin. Then the thing is that I'm looking for is to bounce on the fairway, to bounce not to cut the rough, but bounce directly onto the fairway and gain as much distance as possible on this fairway island here, to have an easier time to get to the green. Now we have no problem to reach for the green while the ball got over there to the fairway, but of course the further up the easier. Now look, now with a power 3 ball he would be gaining at least like an 8 to 10 yards more for the second shot, which would make this shot be so much easier. Now he has to overpower it because otherwise he won't reach. He hits it good and he gets into the rough. And that's kind of like, he gets out to the fairway again, but this is not a safe eagle from this distance. This is going to be a tough wedge for him to try to get in the hole. So I think it's very important that you pick the right equipment for this hole. If we do have a wind, which is a tailwind, then we should go for the fairway island where I am at every single time. But if we do have a headwind or a crosswind, really think twice before you go for that overpowered shot, or you're gonna lay up. Because if you lay up, choose the correct ball and also choose the correct club. The horizon, the big dog with topspin, with distance is very important clubs to pick, at least one of them for the second shot if you are in the position for our opponent. Now for me, I'm having a Viper no problem to reach. But now you can see the problem for me, I'm not having side spin, and I'm definitely not going to go for the pin where so many obstacles in front. So I'm just lay up very easy on the left side of the green and going to take my eagle and run with it. This is definitely the toughest hole of the Juniper Point, and this is definitely not going to be a general albatross hole, as we're going to see more birdies than we're going to see albatrosses, as for people playing it too aggressively or with the wrong equipment. So really think twice before you go with hole number 9. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was the playthrough for Rookie Division with various type of wind for the tournament. The Americana Classic tournament that is starting on Monday, June 10th. So, and if you do have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'm here to help. You can also find timestamps for all the holes in this playthrough in the video description as well. The text guides are out, so if you do want to get them directly, you can get them by signing up on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the Americana Classic tournament.